Hello, this is Matthew Boyle from LanguageCardGames.com. Thank you so much for tuning in again. And in today's video, I want to talk about something that I found kind of by chance or randomly when I came home from work the other day. And it really lifted my spirits after a tiring and stressful day at work. And what it was is, on Reddit, in the spaced repetition subreddit, I guess you would call them, there was a post where someone requested for some help and some advice about how to use the Leitner Box. And one of the people who responded to this person was a little bit rude, or maybe a lot rude, depending on maybe the kind of person you are. But what really amazed me is the quality and the politeness with which the original poster responded to this keyboard warrior. And I really thought it would be worth sharing here today on this channel and on this playlist I'm constructing about the Leitner Box, because the original poster, his name is, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, Nemosine3. He clearly explained some reasons why he likes to use the physical SRS. So let me share with you, let them speak for themselves. And you can see this is really impressive. So the original post says, "Hello, I'm trying to improve my intermediate level Italian using techniques from Gabriel Weiner's Fluent Forever. If anyone is familiar with that book, I've never used spaced repetition system before, so I'm a little confused about the logistics." Okay, fair enough. Very polite post, looking for some advice. And one of the people replied, "Just download SuperMemo 17. I'm not familiar with that, but the original poster seemed to be. So this person replied, he didn't answer the question at all. He didn't provide any advice about that. He just said, "Download this app." Okay. So Nemosine3 replies, "Thanks for the tip. If I decide to go digital at some point in the future, I'll keep that in mind. However, at the moment, I'm happy sticking with my Leitner Box, and anyway, I like learning about learning. So I'd like to know what the optimum way is to space the cards, regardless." Okay, and here's where it gets a little bit contentious, because this negative respondent adds again, "The optimal way to space the cards is outlined in SuperMemo 17. Nothing you do manually will beat that efficiency. If you decide to be stubbornly inefficient for God knows what silly reason that you imagined, then look at what the 19th century scientist who discovered spaced repetition used. But it is horribly inefficient compared to SuperMemo." And I'm paraphrasing a little bit. You can go and read the original for yourself. And I won't read all of what happens next, but Nemosine3 proceeds to lay out a beautiful reply that is very similar to a lot of the reasons why I like to use the Leitner Box. So let's dig into this. Nemosine3 keeps his composure, and he replies, "Yeah, it's awesome that someone designed such a program. I'm really glad that it works for you and that you like it. I completely understand and completely understood when I decided to do a Leitner Box rather than SuperMemo or another app, that the Leitner Box is less efficient in terms of time spent making and practicing with the cards. Funny thing about efficiency, though, is that it is relative to what your goals are. It sounds like you like SuperMemo because it has optimal spacing, and that's great. You found a system that helps you memorize what you want to memorize with the least amount of effort and time. For you, then, SuperMemo is the most efficient option. My goals are a little bit different, though." And he goes on to lay out his goals and his reasons for why he likes to use the Leitner Box. But I just really admire this, and I wanted to share it out. And I hope, if you're in the mood, maybe you can go to this post and weigh in on it. I really admire, I mean, pros and cons of the Leitner Box and physical SRS aside, I really admire this post by Nemoscene3 because it's very logical, very clear, very kind. It concedes some things to the other side, the opposition, and it attempts to understand the reasoning of the other person, despite the fact that he's not really clearly explaining his ideas at all and kind of avoiding the original question, the original post. So, you know, just wanted to share that with you and see what your thoughts are about this kind of situation. I think it's an interesting contrast between, you know, because I've seen more posts similar to this before, where people who like to use the apps try to tear apart the joy of people who like to use the physical systems. And I think these two systems that we have, in a way, they kind of reveal, they're kind of a metaphor for the types of people who use them, because you can see the people who like to use the apps, they seem to emphasize efficiency and convenience. And the people who like to use physical flashcards and boxes, they are a little bit more holistic. They take into consideration other factors. For example, they like to do arts and crafts. They like to do DIY things. They like to use their hands. They like to add some of their own artwork and pictures to their cards. They like to not use technology for a certain amount of time each day. They like to share their craft with other people and maybe work on it together. So it's, you know, both ways definitely have their pros and cons, but it's just kind of interesting how this exploded out the other day, and I just happened to catch it. It could have easily escaped my awareness, but I happened to catch it, so I wanted to share it out with you guys. Leave your comments down below. What do you think, not only about the pros and cons of the Leitner system, but what do you think about the way that people share their ideas about spaced repetition online, one way or the other? Thanks so much for tuning in again, and I'll see you back here next time at Language Card Games.